So, in a previous video of mine, I mentioned that I left home when I was 14. So, I wanted to elaborate on why I left home when I was 14. So, at 14, I left home because my mother's boyfriend at the time, he made some comments that my 14-year-old brain and everything that I had experienced up to that point told me was not safe. He made two comments. She don't pay no bills in this house, and she shouldn't be locking no doors around here. And I thought to myself, well, 14-year-old me, I only lock the door when I go in my room to have privacy or to go to sleep at night, or when I'm going into the bathroom to take a shower. So to me, my mind immediately went, this man has tried to open the door when I'm in the bathroom, using the bathroom or taking a shower, or when I'm in my bedroom in my private time sleeping. And I had already expressed to my mom that I didn't feel comfortable around this guy. And he had a problem with the fact that he could control my mother. My words are getting a little tongue twisted here, but he could control my mother. He could not control me. I'm not my mom. I'm a whole different person. And the things I've seen my mother do, it was clear to me that she didn't have the capacity to keep herself safe. So my brain thought, well, if she can't even keep herself safe, how is she going to keep me safe? So there were a number of things that happened. This same man that had an issue with me locking the doors and things of that nature, also, I guess he would say certain things to my mom, and my mom would feel like, my mom was born at a time when women did not feel as though they had enough values. Women did not have certain rights. In my early 40s, my mom was a baby boomer. I said baby boomer. My mom was a baby boomer. And in the previous video, I mentioned that my mother was a pick me. So if you want further details in some of that, go to the previous video. Anyway, this man, her boyfriend, would do things like, if me and my mom got into a misunderstanding or whatever, she came and asked me one day, for example, why won't you listen to him? And I said, he's not my father. I still had a good relationship with my father, even though he wasn't around a lot. But I was like, one, he's not my father. And two, he does not do anything that contributes to my well-being. So while he may be your boyfriend, and I was 14 at the time, he may be your boyfriend, and I understand that you chose him, but he does not contribute anything toward my well-being. Meaning, I don't feel safe around him. How do I know I can trust this person you want me to just listen to and just do what he tell me to do? And see, at that point, at 14, I had already had SA when I was 4. I was molested. I didn't tell anybody about this because nobody told me at my 4 years of age or earlier, that conversation where you tell a young child, don't let people touch you on these parts. Nobody had that conversation with me. So when I was molested, I didn't even know I was molested. I didn't realize what had happened to me until I got a little older. So me being 14, I know the energy that men come with when they're interested in something or curious, or they just think they can because they feel like they should have control of everything, or they feel entitled. I know what that feels like. I know what that energy feels like. And he had that type of energy and I wasn't having it. So I knew I had to project something different to keep him off of me. And this is what women typically go through when they're in environments where they're not safe. So women can go through this and children can go to it. Anyway, let me digress from that and get back to the story. So it was clear he would do things like tell my mom to, make me listen to him. So this one day she had a conversation with me and we were in the hallway. He was in the bedroom. And of course he could hear it. And she was like, why won't you listen to him? And I said, I don't feel, he's your boyfriend. He doesn't contribute to my well-being. I don't feel, I said, you barely take care of me. I have to come up with money on my own to do certain things. So you're lucky I'm listening to you. I respect you. You're my mom. He is not of any relation to me. So I don't understand why I need to listen to his directive when he tell me to do things. My whole thing at that time was I stayed out of this man's way. I made sure that I was only around when she was around. If she left the house and he was still there, I was out of there. I was not giving him an opportunity to do something to me where he could overpower me. So I knew enough to not be around. Anyway, we were in this conversation, and the conversation got a little heated because she was trying to coerce me to do what he had coerced her to do. He gave her an order to make me listen to him, and I wasn't following it. So my voice got a little raised. Her voice got a little raised. He comes out in the hallway and says, "Don't you put your hands on your mom." And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? First off, I got too much respect for myself to put my hands on my mother. Like, that's just not something I'm going to do. I've never put my hands on anybody who didn't first put their hands on me out of order. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, I knew him and I knew his habits and his patterns. He'll jump into something, and the issue would get completely out of hand. So what I chose to do was to walk away, which is what I always recommend to other women when they're in a situation with a male that's trying to project himself and force himself. If you have the ability to walk away from a conversation or anything, just walk away. Do not try to show him you're not scared of him. It doesn't matter whether you're scared of him or not. Don't put yourself in a situation that you can't get out of later because you're trying to act like you're tough. So I turned around, and we were in a townhome at the time. So I walked down the steps. I had in my room, I had this older sofa that had these huge cushions to it. So it was a big long sofa, but it only had 2 cushions. He ran in my room, grabbed one of the cushion seats from off that sofa, and slung it down the steps at me. So of course, at this point, it hit my legs and I fell down the steps. 14 years old. I was fucking livid because I was not your average 14-year-old. I knew a lot about life at 14, okay? Because of the things I had seen. So I was about to lose my shit. So I come back up the steps, and my mom is like, "Tara, don't hit him. Don't hit him." I'm like, "Wait, what? You're telling me not to hit him?" Now, I'm going to pause right here with this story because when I was younger, I had one interpretation of it. And when I recently told one of my friends what happened, because I've got so many stories about different things that happened to me growing up and as an adult, that even my friends that have been friends with me for 20 years and 10 years, 15 years, sometimes my stories are still new to them. So when I was young, my interpretation of what happened at that time, sorry for me moving this camera around, but whatever. Anyway, my interpretation of what happened at the time was that my mother cared more about his well-being than she did of mine. I moved out within a couple of weeks of this situation, but in talking to my friend, she said, it's possible your mom knows you and she knew how pissed off you was at the fact that he essentially just abused you. He threw something downstairs and caused you to fall down the steps. And so knowing you, she knew you was about to lay some hands on him. And she knows he's a man. And this man more than likely had already hit her at that point and had been abusing her. So she didn't want me in that. And when my friend said that to me, I said, excuse me. I said, I never thought about it like that. Because there was so many times that occasion and after that she seemed to be taking up for him. And maybe that was her only way that she could try to keep her child out of harm's way. I don't know if, my mom's gone now, she's no longer with us. So there were certain conversations I had with her, but there was a lot of conversations I didn't have with her because that generation didn't like to talk about shit. They didn't like to talk about anything. And I talk about everything. I just pick and choose who I talk about it to and how much I want to divulge because, some things you want to keep personal. But in this case, I feel like I wanted to share this story because there's a lot more in terms of the things this man did, but I'm going to cut it off at this point because the main thing is when you are in harm's way, whether you are a young child or whether you're an adult woman and there's a man trying to deliberately get control of you, that's the beginning step. That's not his end goal. His end goal is to be in control of you for another purpose. I'm not trying to stick around to find out what that shit is. So I got ghost yet again.